Hello! So this is now part 3 of the BSA C10 250 restoration. We had successes with the oil pump last time. This week I really want to get it going. I want to start looking at these electrics and suss out just what's going on here. I've done a bit of investigating and I think I've had some successes now, so this is good. I'll show you what I've done. It looks a mess at the moment, but it's the way my mind works. I like to get everything laid out. I need to see everything physically working, and then I'll move on from there. Anyway, let's crack on with it, shall we? Since the last video, I've had a look and worked out basically that this is a 6-volt system on this bike. So I've got, these are two, I know it's confusing, two 6-volt batteries that are wired up in parallel, so that is still a 6-volt battery. Okay, also this bike is a, let's get it the right way around, a positive earth. So the positive side of the battery, which is here, is going to the frame. So it did take me a while to get my head around this. I think if you're an electrician, if you're used to all this stuff, you know, it will just come natural. But that did seem a bit weird. So what I've actually done at the moment is I've used red wire, because it goes to the red wire that someone had already put on the bike, but for the negative side of the battery. And that kind of, in my head, that helps me out a little bit. But don't shout at me, don't, you know, no negative comments. So what have I done? So I looked at this coil. It was covered in layers and layers of paint, and so I've had to clean all that off. I was trying to find a manufacturer's stamp for part number or whatever. It's made by Lucas, and so it's probably the original one. I ran some tests on this coil with my multimeter, and from here I'll probably be able to show you the resistance. So putting my multimeter across the input and output of the primary coil, or primary winding of the coil, I get, when it settles down, 2.903 ohms. So there you go, so that's 2.9. So I would presume that was too high for a 6-volt coil. However, having said that, I wasn't going to give up there. I just wanted to run a few more tests and see what happened, because the higher the resistance doesn't necessarily mean the coil is bad, unless it's, you know, an open circuit, you know. So I thought I'd just run a few more tests and see if I could actually get a spark out of this old coil. So what I've done is I've wired the input of the primary coil to 6 volts, and then on the output of the primary winding I've connected a wire. If I touch this wire on the earth of the bike, that is in effect doing the same thing as closing the points. So, you know, when your bike is running, the points are opening and closing, okay? So by touching this on the frame, which is earthed, I'm in effect closing the points. When I disconnect this from the frame, you're in effect opening the points, which should send a charge down the secondary coil and then send a spark to the spark plug. So that basically bypasses the contact breaker points. Ow! Apart from I got a shock. I don't know if you can see that or hear that, but there is definitely a spark. You can see at the plug there's a very weak spark, so I'm hoping now the next trick is to clean the points and then use this wire, which goes from the contact breaker to the output of the coil. So the next thing for me to do is to clean the contact points, breaker points, and then connect this into the coil, and that is just basically doing the same job as what I was just doing with this bit of wire touching the frame. I suppose what I could have done is check the points before taking them apart, but to be honest I think there's very little point. Get the pun. I think I'll just give them a quick clean up and then we'll see what happens. So I'm just leaving these loose for now, but just enough tension on them to hold the points in place. So as I adjust them, they don't just snap back. Usually there's a good place in here where you can get a bit of leverage just to move the points, like there, look, to open them. So this points gap on this bike is 12 thou. That looks too big at the moment, obviously. So I will just adjust that. Until we've got a nice snug fit, which does feel to be about there. Okay, I think I've got it on the cam. What I'm going to do is just tighten these up and rotate the engine a few times, looking to see if that's the widest point that the points are open. Okay, that seems absolutely perfect. Well, I've taken a look inside this oil tank, and to be honest it's all pretty clean. There's a bit of surface rust on the bottom of the tank, but all the pickup points are clear, the return line is clear. I'm just going to put a drop of oil in it. I'm not going to fill it up because I'm probably going to have to drain it out again, and then we'll see what happens with that. So we know we've got spark, the carburettor's on there, the carburettor opens, we know we've got oil, we kind of know the oil pump works, or it should be. I'm even showing amps on the ammeter at the moment, so all that's left to do is I'm going to use carb cleaning spray instead of putting fuel in the bike. all I want to do is hear it just fire a couple of times. I just want to hear it like try to start. If it tries to start, then we can put on a temporary fuel supply and then we can go from there. So fingers crossed. I mean, this bike hasn't started over 40 years. I know that Chris has owned it, looking at the logbook, for 40 years. The guy he bought it from, it was in the back garden. So, you know, this may not have run for 50 years, this bike. So keep your fingers crossed. I know it's all hanging apart at the moment, not worried about that. Let's just see what happens, see if it fires. I'm sure that fired. Well, I don't know why I didn't check this before, but obviously it didn't run, so I've taken the head back off and everything's okay in here. So at this point the valves are closed and we're coming up to top dead centre, yeah? So that's when we're firing and the points aren't open. In fact, the points are opening now. And they're still open now. So I would say it looks like the distributor is 180 degrees out. What do we reckon to that? To be honest, this isn't a Formula 1 car, it's basically a lawnmower engine, so I'm hoping that with that's just below top dead centre, it's supposed to be a 32nd of an inch, before top dead centre when the points open. So my points are slightly opening, I'm going to adjust it there, it's definitely a strong spark here now. So I'm going to just leave it there and set it up at this point and then we'll go from here. So no excuses now really. I don't know why if this doesn't run now, I have no idea. Ignition's on, showing amps, just do something. That definitely did something. Okay, I'll put some more carb cleaner in the carb, see if it will run on that. Let's give it another go. That'll do. Oh, that's definitely running. I think the thing to do now is to set up some fuel, see if we can get some fuel into it. What do you reckon? That is definitely running. So I've filled the carburetor up. And the tank's not connected yet. We'll have to check that, see if it's clean. But how many kicks do you reckon it's going to take to start now? Everything should be okay. Quite nice to get the timing sorted out, but let's see if it runs first. Fired.
think of that?